When I first heard about Bittensor and its TAO token, I'll admit, I was intrigued. Decentralized artificial intelligence? That sounds like the kind of cutting-edge crypto innovation that could really change the game. But the more I dug into this project, the more I realized it's nothing more than an elaborate scam designed to separate gullible crypto investors from their money. Bittensor is being touted as this groundbreaking decentralized AI network, where a network of miners all run the same language models in parallel to provide AI-powered services. The idea is that by distributing the processing across many different nodes, it creates a more robust, secure, and scalable AI infrastructure. But in reality, it's one of the most absurdly inefficient and pointless systems I've ever come across. I'm going to break down all the fundamental flaws with Bittensor's technology and tokenomics, and explain why this project is destined to collapse. If you've been tempted by the hype around Bittensor and the TAO token, I urge you to keep watching, because by the end of this video, I'm confident I'll have convinced you to stay far away. At the core of Bittensor is this idea of having a distributed network of miners all running the same language models in parallel to process user prompts. The way it works is, a user submits a text prompt to the network, and then hundreds or even thousands of different miners will all independently run that prompt through their AI models and submit their responses. Now, on the surface, this might sound like a clever way to create a decentralized AI system. The thinking is that by having multiple nodes validate the responses, it makes the system more secure and robust. But when you really look under the hood, it's actually a colossal waste of computing resources. Let's say a user submits the prompt, "What is the capital of France?" Instead of just having a single centralized server run that prompt through a language model and return the answer Paris, Bittensor has hundreds of miners all do the exact same task. So you end up with 500 different miners all generating the response Paris and submitting it to the network. The Bittensor network then has to validate all of those responses and determine which one is the correct answer. But since they're all the same, it's a trivial process. All the network has to do is check that the responses are similar enough to each other. This is such a mind-numbingly inefficient way to run an AI system. In a centralized model, you could have a single powerful server handle thousands of prompts per second. But with Bittensor's distributed approach, you're wasting huge amounts of computing power on redundant tasks. It's like having 500 different people all individually look up the capital of France in an encyclopedia just to make sure the answer is correct. And the crazy thing is, there's absolutely no benefit to this redundancy. The only thing it accomplishes is creating the illusion of decentralization. But there's no actual security or robustness being added. The network is still relying on a basic similarity check to validate the responses. It's a solution in search of a problem. But the problems with Bittensor's model go even deeper, because not only is the system itself incredibly inefficient, the economic incentives behind it are also completely misaligned. The way Bittensor is designed, the miners who participate in the network are rewarded with TAO tokens every time they submit a response to a prompt. So their financial incentive is to generate as many responses as possible, regardless of the quality or accuracy of those responses. Imagine if you were running a centralized AI chatbot, and you decided to pay your customer service reps a bonus for every message they send, without regard for whether the message is actually helpful or correct. That's essentially what Bittensor is doing. They're incentivizing their miners to spam out responses rather than rewarding them for providing genuinely useful and insightful outputs. And the validation mechanism Bittensor uses to check the responses is laughably basic. All they do is look at the similarity between the different submissions and give the highest rewards to the responses that are closest to some arbitrary reference answer. There's no actual verification that the miners are running the AI models correctly, or that their responses are meaningful and accurate. It's a system rife with potential for abuse and manipulation. Miners could easily game the network by simply copying each other's responses and tweaking them slightly to get the highest rewards. Or they could train their models to simply regurgitate common factual responses, without any real understanding or reasoning behind them. And since the network has no way to actually validate the quality of the responses, there's no way to prevent this kind of behavior. It's a classic case of garbage in, garbage out. Bittensor is incentivizing quantity over quality, and the end result is going to be a network flooded with low-value, low-effort AI outputs. But perhaps the most damning flaw with Bittensor is the fact that regular users can't even directly access or use the network. The only people who are able to interact with Bittensor are the miners themselves, who are running the AI models and submitting responses. If you, as an individual user, wanted to submit a prompt to Bittensor and get a response back, you can't. The only way to access Bittensor's services is to run your own mining node and participate in the network. And even then, you're not getting any personalized or tailored responses. You're just getting the same generic outputs that all the other miners are producing. So what exactly is the point of Bittensor if regular users can't even use it? It's essentially a closed-loop system where the only beneficiaries are the miners who are collecting TAO tokens. There's no actual utility or value being provided to anyone outside of that insular network. It's like if Anthropic, the company behind ChatGPT, decided to only allow their own employees to interact with the chatbot and then tried to sell access to that internal system as some kind of revolutionary AI product. It simply makes no sense from a user standpoint. So if Bittensor is such a fundamentally flawed and pointless project, how has it managed to generate so much hype and speculative fervor in the crypto space? Well, it comes down to the classic tactics of any good crypto hustle. Lots of buzzwords, vague promises, and a healthy dose of FOMO. Just take a look at Bittensor's website and white paper. They're full of lofty language about decentralized artificial intelligence, trustless computing, and incentivized model training. They throw around terms like blockchain, mining, and staking to make it sound like they're doing something revolutionary with cutting-edge technology. But when you actually dig into the specifics of how Bittensor works, it's clear that there's nothing innovative or groundbreaking about it. It's just a basic distributed computing model, wrapped in a veneer of crypto jargon to make it seem more exciting and futuristic than it really is. And of course, the Bittensor team has been masterful at stoking the hype and speculation around their project. They've managed to get listings on prominent crypto exchanges, land high-profile partnerships, and drum up a devoted online following, all of which has helped drive the price of the TAO token to ridiculous heights, despite the utter lack of any real substance or utility behind it. It's textbook crypto pump-and-dump behavior. Get people excited about the next big thing in AI and blockchain, lure them in with the promise of massive gains, and then cash out once the speculative frenzy reaches a fever pitch. The Bittensor team is essentially holding a giant bag of TAO tokens, just waiting to unload them on unsuspecting retail investors. Bittensor and its TAO token are nothing more than an elaborate scam, designed to extract money from gullible crypto investors. It's a project that is fundamentally flawed at every level. From its absurdly inefficient technical model, to its completely misaligned economic incentives, to its inaccessibility for regular users. If you're considering investing in Bittensor or the TAO token, I urge you to think twice. This is a project that is destined to collapse, and you'll be left holding the bag. Do your own research, understand the technology, and be wary of hype-driven crypto projects that promise the world but deliver nothing.